How y'all been? I know it's been a while. I'm glad you guys come back to hang out. I know I've not made myself seen too much unless you're on the Facebook thing, and it's easy to snap a picture and put it up there and talk to people. But it is the new year, and I wanted to tell you guys Happy New Year. I mean, maybe Robert, are you watching? Yeah, you, Robert. Maybe Brian, maybe a couple of fellows from work. They'll see this so that way they can make fun of me next week sometime when they see it. But that's okay. It gives them something to mess with instead of messing with somebody else, right? Maybe my friend Pete's watching. Is that you, buddy? I think so. I think you're back here in the corner. Over there. Over there. You ain't got to hide. Scott. Cold War Motors. Man, I can't. You can't miss that beard anywhere. Look. Very cool shirts. Anyhow. Is that Dan? You're too busy to be watching, Dan. You got nomads to work on and all. Anyhow. Want to kind of get a video up. And, you know, my New Year's resolutions are 3 resolutions. One, do a little bit more songwriting and get back into that. That's something I really enjoy. Number 2, drink less beer. Well, we're in after the first week of January, and I ain't started on neither one of those. But the third one, 3, is get back on the YouTube thing. Kind of get back into the habit of it. I work my job about every day, between 11 and 12 hours. I like my job, I enjoy it, so therefore I put a lot of time into it. Not because I'm forced to, because I want to. I want to do good at the job that I do. And so I don't have a lot of time for working on projects, let alone videotaping them and putting them on the internet. So, but I've got to cut out some time for that, kind of keep that thing rolling. I'm not always going to work a day job. I'm getting older, so down the road I'm not working a day job. I'll have more time for this sort of thing, but I kind of get this side of it going on a regular basis. I like to make videos of what I like to do. I don't go out of my way to make a video of something that I wouldn't like to do just for the sake of a video. So therefore, I've been working on this thing. So this is basically an introduction of how we got here. At the end of this video, hopefully it's not too long and boring, but it probably will. It's Junk's Automotive, right? We'll get back to where we're at with this and get everything caught up and start from square. It's a new year. So let's put this video together, and hope you guys enjoy at least a little part of it. I enjoyed making it. Just wish it hadn't started back in the summer and ended up to now. So that's how long it's been since I put up a video, I believe. Don't know. Anyways, talk to you guys again in a few. See ya. Alright. Boy, it's bright out here. You know me, use what I got. I had a can of that. Piece of rubber hose. All the spark plugs are out. The spark plugs all look pretty good. Of course I broke a couple, but you know, they don't have a lot of miles on them. They're not rusty. One looked a little funny. Let me see if I can find it. Actually. No, that ain't it. Of course I was out here last night. No, that ain't it. Yeah. No, hey, maybe I'm wrong. They all looked alright. You know, so we'll let her soak, get her on a hot charge, see what happens. Put a breaker bar back on the cranky poo if I need to. If that don't work, well, maybe let her soak for a couple days and put a pry bar on the flywheel. That ought to do it. Alright, let's cut some grass. Why did I park that trailer there? Dang it. Alright, well, grass is cut a couple hours later, close to 3. 2.5 hours. I don't know. Let's see what this thing does. Yeah, the radio's still on, and I pulled the fuse. There we go. I know it couldn't have been too much holding it locked up like that. Just a little bit of a rust ridge. Old PB blaster. Squirted out there a little bit. I believe I've got a set of champion spark plugs that'll work in a pinch. Let's get them in, see if we can get this thing to run. You see I broke a couple of them getting them out. They were in there tighter than I don't know what. Unnecessary. But I didn't have a set. I grabbed a couple random ones and just everything's finger tight. I want to buy a set anyway. So let's see what it does. Well, I'd say that battery's still a little low. Let's try the super start function. Nope. Guess we'll let it sit for a little bit. I'll try again in a minute. Dang it. Dang it. No fuel. I think I need a smaller jug. Is there any gas in it? I don't know. Let's check that out. Golly. A couple gallons of fuel. I'll hold it to the floor. See what happens. There's the fuel gauge. It's not working. Oh, now it's starting to work. What does it say? quarter tank. Get her primed up. Huh. The fuel pump's not running. We get a hammer. Huh. I got it cleaned up a bit. Now it's been. So I need to go buy one of these. But if I put the key in the right way. So I did put a fuel pump in it. Didn't film it, didn't figure you guys wanted to watch me suffer. Got it kind of cleaned out and get them vacuumed out. But she's a runner. Front brakes were sticky, put a pair of lines on it to fix that. Some new brake pads. Runs pretty good. Radio seems to stay turned on for some reason. And sucks the battery down, so the fuse is out for that. See it way down there. I'm just debating where to keep it, which I don't need it. Does need some fresh gas. So I don't know. But you might notice no S10. Did a couple things to that. Battery, charged AC, whatnot. Stuck it out the front yard there, and it was gone in a half hour. Sold. So, you know, we'll just it's kind of bright out. I'm gonna post this video, just a little rink tink stuff I do, and hopefully I do sell this, get the same money for the S10 because I'm gonna need it. There's a project for which I must pay, but that'll be on the next one. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. I'll tell you, I got a new camper. Kind of sweet. Hey everybody. Thanks for coming and hanging out again a little bit. Here at Junk's Automotive. Does that kind of roll off the tongue a little bit? Maybe, I don't know. I'm considering it. Let me know what you think. Anyway, so you know the story about Ralph's trucks, and Ralph gave me these two trucks. Ralph from the Pumpkin Holler Boys. He's one of my kindred brethren, you know. Well, a couple $100 into each one of them. Cleaned them up, sold them pretty quick. Really, I wish I had 10 of them. I'd probably make a good living, but turns out that, you know, there was a different end of the deal. And we're happy to do it, but it's not quite really what either of us thought it was going to be. But it's definitely a project. So both those trucks are gone. Now it's time to pay the piper, so to speak. So let me flip you around. Big old bunch of parts, and they're, you know, they're all good parts. Some are usable, some are good for reference. But if I didn't know what this was and Ralph had told me, I wouldn't know what it was. Some of you guys might. This is I'm going to figure between a 59 and a 61 MGA. English built. A lot of this stuff was hand built, put together. Story behind this car. Now it came with the body just sitting on the frame and the engine, which I'll show you that in a minute. And that was it. The story behind this car, Ralph, I'm going to call him Ralph Jr. is Punk and Holler Boys. Ralph Sr. is Ralph's dad. Ralph Sr. told Ralph Jr. when he was 15 years old maybe, hey, this is going to be your car. Let's take this car apart, let's go through it, redo it, and it'll be your car. Well, that was in Louisiana, where they lived at the time, where I believe Ralph was born, Ralph Jr. That year sounds like it was around 1971, the year I was born. So shortly after that, they moved to Indiana, Peru. I will call it a Kokomo suburb, but it's not. It's Peru, Grissom Air Force Base. Ralph's dad, Ralph Sr., I believe was in the Air Force, worked for the Air Force, whatever, and that's where they moved. So they flat towed this with the body sitting on top and the engine just sitting in the engine compartment, and got it there, and that's where it sat. So the good thing is it is actually a very solid example from the ones I've seen people having to redo and all that. It's very solid. There's a lot of surface rust. It's sat. This stuff isn't a big deal. There's I'm going to say almost no rot in the body and in the frame. And something like this, especially in Indiana, or really even Louisiana, this would be gone. It's all surface rust. It's all treatable, fixable, paintable. Now, we've got lots of parts for this car. There's a bunch over there. Ralph made a big trip, and I'm pretty proud of him. He dug it all out, brought it over here, unloaded it by himself. We got a transmission. It seems operable. A differential that's leaking, that's going to need fixed. Rack and pinion that the boots are rotted off of, that is started to loosen up. I've been soaking it, and it's just a manual rack, so we'll, it's not a big deal. We need to go through all the brakes, set of tires, sandblast 5 for a spare of the best wheels that we have, paint them silver, get this whole suspension repainted, because it was painted. They did paint it back there in 1971. They did a good job. They preserved it, They've painted this. Someone has done some kind of body work and primer, which it's definitely not ready to be painted. If you notice, this is where the bumper hooks up, and it looks crooked. Once they got the body off, it just looks crooked. Funny, in the corner of the garage where it was sitting was this frame bracket, this big bumper bracket that's in good shape. So Ralph Sr. knew what he was doing. He had a plan, so we're just now catching up to him. But yeah, pretty mangled. And get to looking, this corner has been replaced. It's been replaced from here. There's a line, a weld line. There's a weld line here, and somewhere down through here. Some body work's been done over there too, but some fresh spot welds that look like you know, something I would do, which is fine. So it's going to take some body work. It wasn't a plan to paint this car originally, but I just can't see putting it together looking like this. So I think Ralph Jr. is going to go with English Racing Green, and a lot of it's going to be black because I love my 415. We're gonna that's what we got going on here. We're going to get this together, cleaned up. It's not a nut and bolt restoration. It's something he could drive that looks cool and take it out, you know, to the pub or a gig close by and have a good time with it, you know. That's what it's going to be for. But I think really the jewel of this whole project is right there. This is the 1600cc. I think usually they have 1500s. This is a 1600 that is said to have been rebuilt early 70s in Louisiana, or seemed like it was shipped to Indiana, then shipped back to Louisiana, and then whatever. It had a few valves stuck. I took the valve cover off and tapped on some valves, and it's clean. You know, and I've looked in the cylinders. They look very clean. Ralph Sr. plugged up all the holes with masking tape and stuff. So I think that it rolls over good, and I think we're going to be good there. You know, I might redo the clutch, but everything's there, kinda. But it's everywhere. I have no idea about English stuff, but we're going to find out. First thing is start working on the front end of the brakes. We get that done. I'll get the rotors and see if I can resurface them, rebuild the calipers. You know, we're doing this on a budget. No, it's not going to be like that monstrosity that's sitting there. You know, well, let's just get this one out of the way first, and we'll get back to that. Then we'll move to the rear end, get the frame and the chassis painted, get underneath the body, get it all dolled up and pour 15 nice, get a set of body mounts and set her back on here, and then off we go. We do have fenders. All the fenders are up there somewhere. You can kind of see the edge of one. I think we have an extra door. You know, the fenders, everything's been kind of beat on, but it's not rusted. Everything needs a little body work. We'll make her look pretty for Ralph. You know, we'll make this car and make Ralph look good, and that's a job. Love you, Ralph. Just kidding. All right, I'll give you guys a status update. See yous. Well, got a bit of a mess. Got the brakes took apart. I've got caliper rebuild kits. I have a couple parts calipers as well. Those things are expensive. The rebuild kits are pretty cheap, so I don't know. We'll see. Rotors are pretty cheap, so you know. Of course, it's not like American stuff. That bearing assembly presses on that, so you have to hold on a second. That's Steve Poltz. He won't care if I, you know.
All right. Here goes.
Well, got a bit of a mess. Got the brake rotors off both sides, calipers off both sides. One was so froze I had to destroy the pad to get the caliper off. Got rebuild kits. Turns out these calipers are pretty expensive. Rebuild kits are cheap. I have 2 other parts calipers, so hopefully I can come up with a couple that I can rebuild. We'll see. It turns out, unlike American stuff, those bearings, they're like ball bearing, racy, kind of sealed, kind of not sealed. They press on the spindle. So what you have to do You reach way inside that tube, which is right there. It's got a little hole here. You can get your cotter pin out. All I did, use something brass that stuck out the end of it. Used a good old knockoff and screwed on the end of that. Those threads there. Oh, you know, and it just drew it right off. There's a special tool, but we don't need that stuff around here. We come up with something. Anyhow, it didn't tear nothing up, so it's good. This side's kind of the same, except for, well, there's nothing left of the front part of this control arm. It's supposed to look like, well, more like this. This came off whole entire knee assemblies that we had as parts that Ralph had found, that his dad had stashed, I'm pretty sure for this reason. Problem is, the driver's control arm, lower control arm, the spring pocket was rotted out. So I thought, well, I'll take the spring pocket off the left and use on the right, because the control arms aren't the same. I measured them, you know, they're not switcheroo-y, ain't gonna happen. Can't switch these either, they're different. So I'm just gonna replace that. Problem is, in my glory and mental ability, I took the engine out, took the body off, and there's no weight. I can jack up this control arm and it jacks up the whole car and doesn't compress the spring at all. So I come up with something, oh, kind of safe. There's two holes in the control arm here, one on each side. You can kind of see the chain on the other side bolted through, and this is a long bolt that I just cranked it up until pressure come off our rebound. So hopefully, you know, I'm going to take these two bolts out. Look how crunchy this stuff is, and it's only on this corner. We'll take those two bolts out, or nuts off, and it'll kind of hold it there. I want to cut these because I can't get these off either. I'll cut these nuts and bolts, and then you know, hopefully this won't go backwards too much because the pressure's out here. It's connected on the other side, but I'm sure it's going to twist and want to come down. So if it does, I'll start it here, get a nut and a bolt here, use the floor jack to jack it up here, and shove it on. Right? Hopefully that spring don't come out and take my head off. Yeah, it can't go that far. Who knows? I'll show you when I get done. Yeah. This is the rough, grunny, dirty stuff. Well, so much for that idea. You can tell by the way it is, that control arm's been rusted out like that for quite a long time. Because as soon as I touched it, you can see where it'd been wearing. And it just snapped right off. And on the other side, you can see where the hole is supposed to be, where it's wore out to. So, I guess we're taking this whole control arm off, using my parts assemblies over there to try to figure something out, and take two crappy left front lower control arms, use the good parts and make one good one. That bolt I just broke, I already know I only have one good left one, or right one, that's left. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I got parts though. Anybody need a rear end for an MG? You gotta wait and make sure I don't need it. Okay. Well, got a fire going. Open the beer. Might be here a while. Dang it. Alright, so there's kind of how we got to here, the end of it. I haven't watched it. I don't edit much. Just throw it up there, and it is what it is, right? So anyway, let's see where we're at today. This is, I don't know, 7th or the 8th of January. So, the old MG, this is where we're at. Hubs are all fixed up, got rotors on them. Suspension's all rebuilt, all put back together. We've got nice rebuilt lever shocks. I got some for the back, but we'll put them on when we, flip it around, and I'll work on the back. All pour 15, cleaned up. Rack and pinion, some new boots, everything's cleaned up, kind of gone over. I have tie rod ends yet to put back on it. They're in good shape, I just haven't put them back on. And now I'm working on brake calipers. So you're not supposed to take the halves apart. You take one piston out at a time, clean it up, all that. Well, this one here moves a tiny bit. I can squeeze it with pliers, add air to it, and it pops out a little bit. This one moves not at all. So I'm thinking what I might do is get that old stove going, stick them in between the barrels, get the calipers heated up really good, and see if I can't get them out. I don't know. We'll figure it out. If we have to, we'll buy calipers. I guess that's just, and look at the mess. It's deplorable. Look at the mess. I use the engine crane and jack it all the way up to get underneath it. It's kind of handy. So that's where we're at. We're about done with the front end. I'll get it back on the wheels, get the brakes done, flip it around, and I'll raise up the rear end and take it all apart. Again, excuse the mess. I haven't had time to make videos or work on the cars too much over the last couple of months, and I definitely don't have time to clean. It is what it is. Gas tank's in pretty decent shape, I believe. It'll need cleaned and sealed. Maybe. We'll see. Rear end's okay. We got a pinion seal that needs to go in it. Rear brakes. Paint and pour 15. I'd like to get the transmission gone through. A little 4-speed manual deal. I think it has some resealing and maybe some inspection stuff. And our little motor, get it on an engine stand. Take the pan off, inspect everything. Might have to put a rear main seal. That engine was rebuilt in 1970, 69, something. I've had the valve cover off. It is definitely overhauled. It is spotless clean. So we're ahead of the game there. But I want to reseal everything. It's sat for as older than I am, 53 or 4 years. Turns over. It's great. It's a good deal. And then there's I don't know. I could probably get the body back on that, push it aside, store it somewhere, and work back on that, but I'm just not that kind of guy. I don't have that ability to multitask. Unless I have to, and right now I don't have to. Let's get this thing done. Done as we're going to get it done. English Racing Green is what old Ralph wants to do. And don't any of you get any ideas? I don't do this for anybody. I'm doing it for Ralph and myself. So we'll get Ralph fixed up and get back to myself, and then have some more fun. This is fun. This is definitely fun. It's definitely weird. I'm not an English car guy, but everything's pretty different. So another project. Now, how I got this is from the estate of Ralph's mom and dad's. I already knew about it for a good while, and I thought, well, we don't need this big monstrosity because we have that camper back there. We just bought it. Took it out twice. Well, this spring we're going to sell it. Get our money back out of that. We'll be a lot better shape money wise for this one. Needs some brake work. A few electrical issues. Doesn't really like to charge the battery. Super great camper. I'll show you inside just real quick before we go. It's a 1984 Airstream motorhome. Just a quick peek. Needs cleaned up. I drove it home. I had no problems other than the battery not charging really good. You know, so we got interior parts. I'm going to put the original stuff back in here. Hopefully keep one of these nice recliners maybe over here somewhere. Just kind of rearrange, redo. So you guys just comment down there. Let me know if you're interested in seeing any of this, because I've got to do it anyway. That's I make videos of what I do. So front and rear brakes, probably some power steering and master cylinder action, some electrical work, interior redoing, a little bit of a project, but I want to get this thing back out on the road, get it back to the same places Ralph's mom and dad took it to. For some reason I feel really attached to doing that. I used to go to bluegrass festivals years and years when I first started going, and I saw this. Not a lot of people really knew the people that owned it, but it was always there. This is long before I met Ralph, and I'd see this thing thinking, man, if I had a big motorhome, that would be the one. So anyhow, let's look at I don't know, let's look at a new year. I hope everybody's happy and safe, having a good time in life, and working hard and getting what you want out of life, because that's what you got to do. That's the meaning of life. Oh, and 5-year-olds. That's the big part of life for me right now. I definitely love her. Anyways, might go to changing things down the road a little bit. Call the channel a little something different. Junk's Automotive. I think it's short and sweet. Gets to the point. Alright, boys and girls. Thanks for hanging out again. We'll see you in about a week or so. That's kind of my goal. Laters. Where's this stupid button? There.